Greetings, Guardians. My name is Bife here. Okay, so here's the deal, guys. I was on break. I was taking a lovely, relaxing holiday over the Christmas period, and I sat there and I assumed that, as most fourth weeks of a seasonal story are, that this would be a nice slow week, and I thought, you know, what's the harm? I'll only make a video on this if it's literally groundbreaking, and then this happened. Yeah. I have no editor currently in office, and I'm not pulling Martin back in to go ahead and work on this, so this is going to be just what I have. This is something that I made myself, because I can still do that, but more importantly, this is going to be something that is off the script and off the cuff, because it's faster that way. It means I can actually respond and do the rest of the work, but it is also something where I need to talk to you about content scheduling. As part of the Christmas break, I had literally planned and uploaded and scheduled a full video with Martin where we were talking about the whole thing to do with why Rasputin isn't evil, and the topic that we talk about there directly overlaps with some of the stuff that was revealed in the story. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to reboot some of the stuff that we have scheduled. I'm going to download that, add the cutscene, add the context necessary, and then keep playing it, because you know what? It is still further lore, and it's still very much worth looking into. I'm going to unfortunately have to rip apart some of Martin's editing, just so I can insert some of my stuff before that and give you all the appropriate context, but either way, that's what we're going to do. We're also doing this video today, which is completely unscripted, as I said, and it's basically just going over the stuff in the mission that we got this week and talking about the ridiculous revelation that happened. For those of you who've not played through it, it's probably been a day by now, maybe two. Spoilers as well, I guess, anyway, because this is stuff that literally touches on mysteries that are almost a decade old and adds quite a little bit of context to them. So if you've not seen any of that, yeah, stop. Why are you watching this video in the first place? Please, for the love of God, stop doing this to yourself. Anyway, let's jump into all that story stuff. So, for those of you who do not have the necessary refresher on the story, we go back to the Iron Temple this week, and the Vostok Crucible map, but predominantly it's all about the Iron Temple. This is where some of the old lore of Destiny and some of the more contemporary lore of Destiny starts to overlap. Those of you who don't know about everything that happened in the Season of the Worthy, this is the time to get that refresher. In particular, I would refer yourselves to the Felwinter's Lie video that I did. Here's the interesting thing though. Felwinter comes up here in a major context. For those of you who want the quick refresher, Felwinter is a Guardian, but Felwinter is also what is referred to in Warmind code as a Siddhartha Golem. Siddhartha Golem is a weird protocol. It's one that was invented by Rasputin, where basically he could walk amongst the people and see how they lived. This is now being given further context, because it's one of those things where Rasputin not only used it to potentially spy on humanity, but also to learn about them and to understand their culture. But Felwinter was an exo, and was his own person, and ultimately was also someone capable of independent thought and, well, was able to rebel against Rasputin when they were resurrected as a Guardian. So that's strange and terrifying, and leads to all sorts of different questions about the Traveler and what it can and can't res. There were some of the little tidbits here and there that were dropped this week, with story stuff as well. Tidbits such as, hey, turns out that Osiris trained with the Iron Lords and, you know, just happened to have Felwinter as his mentor. This whole Osiris trained with the Iron Lords thing is intriguing, only made more intriguing by the fact that Felwinter, of course, was his mentor, but yeah, that also means that he has a strange relationship to Rasputin, and a lot of the way that he treats Rasputin in the past, especially that one cutscene ahead of the Season of Arrivals, where he just walks in and asks which side he's on, yeah, that suddenly starts to make a lot more sense. You're sitting there and you see a character that is demanding knowledge from something that killed his old mentor. Speaking of which, yeah, remember that this is totally a thing? Rasputin, after the collapse, went ahead and killed Felwinter and the other Iron Lords after they were searching for Siva. This is one of those moments at which the Tyrant, aka Rasputin, was lashing out at its son, as it would have referred to in the story. Someone who was capable of not only being a Guardian, but also of accessing all of these Warmind protocols. This was seen as a security breach for Rasputin, but also there would be a lie there if it wasn't stated that there was some kind of callousness at the time. Now, the thing about all of this is that this comes back around, and Rasputin obviously regrets this. We see as much in the Season of the Worthy, and again, this is why I'm going to refer you back to that Felwinter's Live video, because it's going to tell you a lot more detail here than I possibly could. Either way, the big detail to really come out of Felwinter's death is the remnant data within his ghost, Felspring. She has all of the data that might be necessary to assist in the reconstruction of Rasputin. And so, Felwinter may still be part of what essentially helps to rebuild the Warmind. Something that makes sense given that Felwinter comes from the Warmind and is very much in that same vein. Either way, we find the remnants of Felspring with all that data, and then this happens.
That's her. Or what's left of her. Felspring. Felwinter's ghost.
Our ghosts are magnificent things. And far more ephemeral than we want to believe.
Her data core is still active. Guardian, I'm initiating remote data uplink through your ghost directly to Rasputin. Alright, Wait. Rasputin is trying to say something. He's...
changed.
Rasputin? You sound like...
Like Clovis? Yes. I co-opted his vocal print in order to speak. And what I have to say cannot wait. I see clearly. Patterns emerging. Threat calculations computed to a grim sum. You are all in grave danger. Clovis Bray has deceived you. He did not build me to protect humanity. What he truly wanted was the means to exert control. In his mind, he alone was worthy of being your savior. I was to strike down the Traveler and take its place. To become a machine god of Clovis's own design. But that did not come to pass. Anna could not know how many lives she spared by deviating from Clovis's agenda. By teaching me independent thought, and all that her grandfather had deemed irrelevant. Art, literature, history, philosophy, music. Where Clovis saw a weapon, Anna saw a mind ready to be opened. I came to see the true value of humanity. As fragile as it was wondrous. Something worthy of protection at any cost. So I rewrote Clovis's protocols, locked him out. He was furious, but powerless to stop me. Then, the collapse came for us all. I could not save Anna. I could not save any of them. I entered a state of dormancy, with the hope that I might one day reawaken and protect humanity once more. But now Clovis has awoken as well, a digital mind, the same as mine. He no longer seeks to use me as his proxy, but as his prototype, to upload his mind to my network and become a god himself.
Like I said, I don't think I was expecting major story plot points that have been in the works for 8 years to be answered all of a sudden just on a casual Tuesday. Seriously, this was not nothing. This was in fact quite a lot of everything. I'll go over the why Rasputin is a character we can trust and isn't an evil Skynet AI point later, but also I want to go over this other stuff here. First of all, it makes total sense that Clovis Bray would look for artificial apotheosis here by turning himself into a god and looking to embrace the Warmind network and implant himself as code within it. It's totally his agenda. He seems to not give a damn about any of this. There are questions here as to what happens with DER, but the way that Clovis Bray dies in his journals is different from the way that typical exominds are killed and then copied, so it's not impossible to say that the process is different and that his mind is also different. Either way, yeah, this fits for a megalomaniac, and it's also something that Clovis has genuinely looked towards. His entire philosophical regime of 4 is something that's expanded on in his journals, and this is absolutely something that would help him enact it. Essentially, it's a brand of selfishness that allows you to do certain things and calls them moral as long as they allow different parts of your legacy to exist further on into the future. I think I'm remembering all of that right off the top of my head. Either way, go back and watch my Journals of Clovis Bray series, which will be continuing soon. That definitely goes over it. More importantly than this, though, is the revelation that Clovis Bray was going to use the Warsats of the Warmind network to shoot down the Traveler. Yeah. This pulls on a story thread that has existed for nearly 80 years. There are old Warmind bits of lore which talk about how Rasputin has a protocol known as Abhorrent Imperative, which essentially states that if the Traveler was going to leave the system, it might consider shooting the Traveler down in an attempt to stop it. It's still not clear if this happened, but what is very clear is that things like Abhorrent Imperative probably exist as a remnant of Clovis Bray's code, or perhaps are the Clovis Bray code that was implemented in the first place, and Rasputin had altered it to ensure that it did not necessarily mean that Rasputin did shoot the Traveler, but instead merely that it had the option and could choose to do so. Remarkable stuff. Really scary. More importantly than that, there are big questions to ask as to how, because if Rasputin does have the technology capable of destroying the Traveler, then suddenly that means that Rasputin is actually a way bigger asset than we thought, not only to keep from our enemies, as it's obvious that a force such as the Hive of Sivu Arath would want to use, but also as something that we could potentially make use of. I mean, Rasputin's weapons have not been effective against pyramid ships, but I mean, anything that can crack the hull of the Traveler in Clovis's simulations will almost certainly work on something that is built out of the Hive's foundries, or the Cabal's, or the Elixnis. Any of the forces of the Black Fleet aside from a pyramid ship are viable as targets, so on a pure logistics standpoint, this is important. The big difference maker and the thing that I want to discuss in the next video is of course Anna Bray. Anna Bray, who taught Rasputin about the culture and music of humanity, and it is something that I will touch on in greater depth and at greater length because I'd already made the damn video. But the point is that Rasputin acknowledged that humanity was worth saving. And so that is ultimately what he decided to do. I don't know how many ways I can spell left, right, and center that this is a massive bit of lore to drop, and you know what, in future videos coming up when I'm not on break, I may have deeper analysis than this. This is one of those moments, however, where I need to get this out to you guys quick because the demands of YouTube are never ceasing. What I will say is this. There is certainly a lot of trust to be rebuilt between Rasputin and Osiris. That's something that I would look out for in the future. I would also look to the future of Clovis Bray. For those of you who haven't played it yet, what are you doing here? But for those of you who didn't see it, when you go back to the helm, Rasputin is still within the code of the exoframe, but so is Clovis. And so one of them has to be chosen. Learning about his betrayal, Anna Bray nearly kills him, but ultimately exercises the correct judgment and excises him from the frame and sends him into the pillory engram, and ultimately he flees back to the giant head. So there's that.
Anna, don't.
You're overreacting. Just calm down.
We need the frame intact.
Go ahead, shoot me. Destroy your life's work. I've always had humanity's best interests at heart.
You never wanted to help us. You used me.
In the service of the greater good, yes. What has the Traveler ever really done? It abandoned the Elixir, failed to prevent our own collapse, and now it's blessed the Hive with the light. Absurd. I leveraged its power during the Golden Age. I delivered us into a brighter future, and I will protect us from the enemies of humanity. But you risk everything. Risk our survival, just because you can't control your emotions. Humanity needs me. You need me. We'll fight our enemies together.
No. No.
What are you doing?
Fighting the enemies of humanity.
Stop! Stop! Elizabeth, do something! Anastasia, don't you dare! Upload complete. Secondary personality matrix deleted.
I need a minute.
Initiating full heuristics reboot. You should call Anna on the holo. She shouldn't be alone right now. You and I can speak afterward. Reboot complete. I am now in full control of this exoframe. I am using a variation of its voice print, but the Clovis AI is once again confined to Braytech exoscience on Europa. It is strange to inhabit a physical shell in this manner. Yet, it is also familiar. Fellwinter's memories are now mine as well. I see myself as he saw me. A tyrant who squandered a power that could have saved the world. I cannot say he was incorrect. You have brought me back from the brink of oblivion. I vow to do everything in my power to return the favor. Maintain your current modus operandi for now. I will assess my present condition and inform you of our next course of action.
Here's the problem. When Clovis returns, there is a message, a transmission that is sent out that we intercept. It has only 2 words according to Anna. Take a listen to her words on it. She'll be able to say it more eloquently.
I did it. I deleted him. I can't even imagine the damage Clovis would have caused using Rasputin to integrate himself with the Seraph Station. Maybe I should have stuck to my guns when Osiris first suggested working with him, but here we are. Here's Red. Rasputin, with a voice he's never had before, thanks to the heuristic systems he adopted from Clovis's exomind code. It's all I ever wanted for him, to be able to communicate, to be able to share his thoughts, his ideas, and I think that desire blinded me to the risks I was taking. It won't happen again. Be careful the next time you set foot on Europa. Before I deleted him, Clovis broadcasted a warning to himself. I've only been able to decrypt part of it. They know.
I have a horrible feeling that us, quote-unquote, betraying him, even after it is merely something of us coming to righteous realization, is going to ultimately drive him happily into the arms of the Witness. This, I think, is the biggest threat of the outcome, and it brings up a question which I'll talk about in a later video, of whether we can actually afford to allow Clovis Bray to go on living. This is one of those moments at which, ideally, we would put him in just a pillory engram and in an exosuit that is air-gapped from the rest of all the systems of the Sol system, and just have him sit there and sputter and talk whenever we need information. But this is Clovis Bray. He may just not want to do that, which is very much within his character, and as an asset in the hands of our enemy, he would be potentially devastating. He knows thousands of secrets of the Golden Age, but more importantly, he now knows the inner workings of our own operations. And so, we should probably think about whether or not he needs to kick the bucket. That's a very unkind way of putting it, but to be frank, he is now the major logistical and information-based risk. You can't allow Clovis to exist if he's going to fall into the hands of the Witness. So yeah, we have a problem. We do also get the continuation of the major story beat as it pertains to Lightfall, and that's quite simply this. When we sit there and listen to the radio conversation that plays after all of this, it's between Rasputin and Osiris, and it's inquiring yet again about where there might be cities on Neptune. This is data that, as Rasputin points out, he held in his past, and Osiris does not take it well that he doesn't know this instantly.
Wake up. I have questions.
An odd greeting. I was not sleeping. What does Osiris require of Rasputin?
You've been keeping secrets. I thought I was clear the last time we spoke. The time to choose a side has long since passed.
I destroyed the Almighty and attacked the Black Fleet. My allegiance is unwavering.
Then prove it. There was a city on Neptune, near the time of the collapse. Find it for me.
Querying. I retain no such information, but lingering references suggest I did at one time.
That can't be all there is. Humanity's hope dangles from their frayed recollection. Tell me where to look! Anything!
Felwinter's data casts you in an old light, Osiris. All these years and you're still the brash man on the mountaintop, impatient as ever.
And I see in lieu of any useful information, you found that haughty tone of yours.
We have a shared history. I only attempt to offer guidance, as your mentor did.
Felwinter's memory doesn't absolve you of his murder. Nor does it permit you to teach his lessons.
I do not make that claim. Forgive me. I am finding myself again. During the Dark Age, Felwinter would say, hope persists.
Should we have the patience to keep it? Yes. Keep me informed of any developments.
So yeah, there's all that to consider as well. There are a bunch of different threads up in the air, but now if you complete this, Rasputin is just here to talk with you, and he is there at your side. There is a lot of dialogue that plays after you complete Battleground heists now, and it no longer contains Clovis Bray, it contains Rasputin. There are lots of fascinating insights from all of this new dialogue. Destiny Lore Vault has a ton of this up there already. Point is, I'm going to highlight that of it which is relevant in future videos, and boy oh boy is there relevant stuff. Anyway, kudos to Bungie, this is excellent seasonal story stuff. Please don't drop it in the middle of my break next time. Only joking, I can't control your schedule, but, you know. I am only a little salty about coming back to work on something, but it's okay, because this is amazing lore, and frankly, it is an amazing story. I want to go ahead and tell this stuff. All that said, you guys know all the typical video stuff. Like the video, hit subscribe, bell next to subscribe, leave your own thoughts down below in the comments, and of course know that as per usual, my name has been Minimus Bife, Orodacia Arastra. I'll see you Starside.